Hello everyone. This is a old recording of a team I made for Sceptile. This was recorded a month ago while I was up way too early chatting in Discord, so I wasn't recording a voiceover and also wasn't paying too much attention, so the gameplay isn't always the best. But this team was inspired in part by the Tickler and by the Christmas team I made, where I use Sceptile. And I think this might be like the strongest use for Sceptile. This is the purpose I have on this team. And that is a stall Sceptile. Because as you may know, Sceptile is not the best Pokemon. It is very fast, it outspeeds almost everything. This Sceptile outspeeds everything except for the fastest Jolteon, which is Jolteon 4, so only one Pokemon really outspeeds it, which is quite impressive. And it has some coverage moves like Thunder Punch, Dragon Claw, Crunch I think, Earthquake as well, but its attack is a little lower. The issue for Sceptile is that it's just not quite strong enough to kill things. Like, it can finish something off, it can weaken something, but it can't 1v1 a lot of things. Oh, and I have the footage sped up in the background because this is a 4-hour recording and I'm not gonna be talking for 4 hours, and it's just complete stall the whole way. So, yeah, that would not be that interesting to watch, so I've sped it up by a lot. As I'm recording the voiceover, it's sped up by 10, but I'm gonna try to match it to whatever my voiceover ends up being. So yeah, Sceptile is not strong enough to be a good sweeper. But it is very fast, and it has... Well, speed is all you need, really. As we saw with the Tickler, you don't need a massive amount of HP or bulk to stall out your opponent. Like, I've stalled out Regice with Tangela. As long as you outspeed, and you can set up a substitute and you can get a leech seed off, you can 1v1 almost anything. Of course, grass types are immune to leech seed. However, Sceptile gets Seismic Toss, which is a set amount of damage. We don't need to invest in our attack. We don't need to have a good attack. So that's where it started. And in the Christmas team, I tried to double team with the Sceptile, but Sceptile is not tanky enough to reliably get off a bunch of double teams. So I fixed that issue by having a lead Umbreon with Baton Pass double team. And Umbreon is a lot better at setting up double teams. And Umbreon also has Charm, which makes it a lot easier to set up against physical attackers. And then we have Rest with a Chesto Berry to recover our HP and give us a lot more opportunity to set up double teams. So that's our lead Pokemon. And of course, Umbreon does not like Pokemon like Machamp or Heracross. But someone who doesn't really care that much is one of my favorite frontier Pokemon. It's Dusclops. And I've used Umbreon and Dusclops before, but it was on a Curse Pass team. But I've also wanted to try out a double edge or a double team boost on Dusclops. But Dusclops doesn't really have space on its moveset. Like, I think the first Dusclops I ever tried had double team, but that didn't work out that well. We just don't have enough move slots available. So if Umbreon passes those boosts to Dusclops, Dusclops is also great at stalling, especially when it doesn't get hit. Because we want to use Curse, and Curse costs HP. So if we don't have to deal with taking more damage, or at least not as often, that makes that strategy a lot better as well. And they just cover each other's weaknesses as well. Bug and fighting. Dusclops is immune to fighting. Resists bug. Shadow Ball or Ghost moves. And Dark moves, Umbreon resists those. So that's a great combination. And one that I may continue to use in the future, because this is already the second team that has used it, and it went pretty well. So basically that's the strategy. Umbreon sets up double teams and passes it to whoever I feel like. And Sceptile was the featured Pokemon for the team. However, I think probably Dusclops is just a better Pokemon. But being fast, of course, has its advantages. But you are vulnerable to Quick Claw. But Double Team also kind of helps with that. If they Quick Claw, they still need to hit you. And because we didn't have to invest in attack, we could invest in HP. So we're still pretty bulky on the Sceptile. Or actually, no, we didn't invest in HP. We invested in defense and special defense. Because like with Tangela, we wanted to keep our HP low, so we heal a greater percentage with Leech Seed. So instead we went for defense and special defense, but mostly defense. And we have the Lumberry on the Sceptile because Dusclops really wants the Leftovers with the Curse substitute, everything costing HP. And it doesn't have Leech Seed, so it needs to rest to recover. And also Seismic Toss makes contact. So if we have to Seismic Toss, let's say a Breloom, who is immune to Leech Seed, then a Lumberry can be very nice. Or if simply we get statused on the switch, then it's also very nice. But yeah, for the Umbreon, I decided to invest in HP fully and special defense fully with a plus special defense nature. And with the charm, we don't need defense as badly. But it is also because I decided to invest fully in defense with Dusclops. Simply because we need Dusclops to deal with fighting types, as I mentioned before, who of course are physical attackers. So I simply wanted Dusclops to be full defense, and it makes sense for Umbreon to be full special defense. And Umbreon will still take physical hits quite well. It has a lot of bulk. And same for Dusclops, it will still take special hits quite well. But Dusclops doesn't quite have 252. We have 220 in HP, and this is so that with Leftovers we recover our substitute every 4 turns. Like the HP we need for one substitute is recovered by Leftovers every 4 turns. Which just gives us more opportunity to PP stall in a worst case scenario where either we could just get hit every time even though we have double team boosts, or we didn't have the opportunity to set up our boosts. And then the Sceptile with no HP investment. We have 244 in defense, 54 in special defense and 212 in speed with a timid nature. I don't quite remember if there were any specific calcs I had for this, because it was a month ago that I played this. 244 defense survives airlays from every Salamence, apparently. And I just put the rest in special defense. And that's basically the only calc I have, I think. The rest is just as much into one stat as possible. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the team. I don't really know what else to say. Yeah, it's pretty much just double team and stall out your opponent. And it's pretty strong. And I think this is probably the best thing Sceptile can do. Or the strongest thing it can do. It can 1v3 entire teams somewhat reliably as long as Umbreon gets the Baton Pass off. Which normally Sceptile is not going to 1v3ing teams reliably at all, no matter the moveset. So I think this is probably the strongest, but the question is it worth the investment into like an entire other Pokemon setting up for you? Maybe it is, maybe it is not. But if you ever want to use a Sceptile to really 1v3 the Battle Tower, or I guess kind of 2v3, but we'll say 1v3. You really want to use Sceptile, then maybe this is the strategy that you can use. But yeah, it obviously it has its flaws. Oko moves are not affected by Double Team. We don't have a sturdy Pokemon on this team. Pressure is pretty good against Oko moves. Same with the Substitute, because Substitute just takes the hit for you and goes down. So as long as you outspeed, you will survive, but you can be Quick Clawed, of course. And yeah, pressure, especially with the Dusclops, who is on the slower end, you cannot set up Substitute before they will go for the Oko move, so if they hit the first one, that's just unlucky. Or, I mean, we also have to switch to Dusclops if it's like lead Oko Pokemon. So if you die on the switch, that's also unlucky. There's definitely weaknesses with this team, and probably some variations you can make. There are multiple Baton Passers available. There's Zapdos if you have XD. But getting a good Zapdos is of course difficult. And Zapdos has pressure, Double Team and Baton Pass. So you're not as worried about Oko moves because you have a fast lead pressure Pokemon who can outstall most Pokemon who will try to Oko you. But you can still be Quick Clawed, so there's definitely weaknesses, but we got the gold here, just as I'm saying this in the recording. I'm fighting Annabelle. I watched this back a little bit earlier to try to refresh my mind or my memory. I have no idea what I was doing, but it worked out just barely. I assume I was at least counting PP, because I set up a couple of double teams because I knew Raikou couldn't one-shot Umbreon. Then I Baton Passed to Sceptile, waited until it rested, and I set up a Leech Seed, of course, and a Substitute. And then I switched to Dusclops to stall the PP. But yeah, I don't really know what I was doing. Like I could have just made it rest much earlier with Seismic Toss, but I didn't for some reason. But also Raikou, because it was faster, didn't want to rest. So it was literally on 1 HP when it ran out of PP. So I don't know if I calculated that. I kind of think I just got lucky, maybe. I mean, I still would have been fine anyway. So it didn't really matter, I think. But still, I don't know. I played this weirdly, but I wasn't paying attention. Or not too much. So yeah, if this is gonna be synced in the... end up being synced in the video, then yeah, the fight was a little bit weird, but it worked out, I guess. But yeah. What else can I fill the time with? I don't really know. I think the Dusclops, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Dusclops is better probably than the Sceptile to pass to. Although, I mean, the Sceptile is really good once you get it fully set up. And it's probably less risky than the Dusclops because you outspeed so many Pokemon that if they break through and they kill your Substitute, you can almost always set it up before they move. And for Dusclops, that's not the same necessarily. Well, I mean, you almost never outspeed with Dusclops, so and that part's definitely not the same. But you can tank a lot more hits with Dusclops usually. And you can PP stall with Dusclops. The main thing that makes Dusclops the better Pokemon is that it doesn't need the double teams. Like, I've used this set on its own many times to PP stall. Or to... I mean, just kill things, but Curse is insanely powerful. It's risky, but if you play it right, it's insanely good. So I think Dusclops was definitely the better recipient. Or maybe not the better recipient, but the better partner for the Umbreon. And in this recording, I mostly tried to pass the Sceptile. Simply because, I mean, when else is Sceptile gonna shine and actually 1v3 teams? And for Dusclops, that's just business as usual. I've done that many times. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Umbreon Dusclops combination. It's pretty good. There might be better combinations for both of them. But in a 2 Pokemon combo, this is really strong. And yeah, I'm doing another round after Annabelle because I started in round 9. And usually I start in round 8, the first highest difficulty round. But I did the One Punch Man video before, which I could only be bothered to do 1 round with because that team was horrible. I mean, it was just a meme. And I mean, I do meme teams from time to time, but that one really was just a joke for 1 round. We made it through somehow, and I don't think I'm picking that one up, at least not for quite some time. So yeah, I always want to do 3 rounds with a team, and one of them being the gold round. And then I consider a team to be successful. I don't really care too much about the lower difficulty rounds because they're lower difficulty, of course. And especially with like these really slow setup teams, I do not want to deal with them in the lower rounds. It's just way too boring. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about strategy, which there isn't that much strategy, but basically you set up with Umbreon when you can. When you cannot, you switch to Dusclops usually. And Dusclops PP stalls whatever move Umbreon doesn't want to deal with. And then you switch back to Umbreon. Umbreon sets up, if possible. And then you Baton Pass to Sceptile or Dusclops. Usually Sceptile because, like I said, it's the featured Pokemon on the team. It needs its chance to shine badly. So that's basically the strategy. We really just want to set up those double teams and make that happen however we can get it to. With Curse, if a Pokemon has Rest, if you Curse it, you can loop it into resting. Because by the time it wakes up, it will be very low HP, so it wants to rest again. And this can give you opportunities to set up as well. Because of course there's 10 rest PP, which gives you a lot of turns. And for Leech Seed it's not quite the same. Leech Seed of course does a lot less damage. But if you add like a Seismic Toss here or there, it's basically the same thing. They will just rest loop. But also you will be able to kill most Pokemon that are resting. Like maybe not something like a Snorlax because it has too much HP. I'm not sure. But most Pokemon who have rest will die to Leech Seed plus Seismic Toss, I think. But if not, you can switch to Dusclops and curse them and then they will definitely die. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. I've stretched this out long enough. Like this was a 4-hour recording. This took quite a while. I mean, it's not the longest, Like with my Moltres team, I did 2 hours for one round somewhat regularly. So then it would have been a 6-hour recording. So this is a little bit faster. So yeah, I definitely understand if this is not your cup of tea for a team you would want to use. If you're planning to use a Sceptile, because it does take a while. It is satisfying that you can win most battles without losing a single Pokemon. I always like that when that happens. But that's not necessarily worth the bother, maybe. But yeah, it's a pretty strong team. But yeah, if you end up facing Oko moves and you get a little bit unlucky, then maybe it's not the best team. But I think this can get gold pretty consistently. But yeah, otherwise, if you want to use Sceptile, I have not used Sceptile really. Like I had it on my Christmas team and now on this team. In both cases, I mainly use Stall. But I think the best... I haven't looked at damage calcs or anything, but I think the best role for Sceptile would be a Pokemon in the back who can switch in to finish off a Pokemon. And then, if you're lucky, you're able to 1v1 the next Pokemon. But most likely, you're just gonna soften up the next Pokemon for whoever else you have in the back. And maybe there's some other move. I don't know. Does Sceptile get any support moves? Probably something, but not much. You don't have like Sleep Powder or something. Not that I would really recommend Sleep Powder necessarily, because of low accuracy. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. I hope this wasn't too boring, because I'm just kind of trying to fill the time. If you wanna like watch the actual gameplay, which probably isn't always the best, like I said, but you can just maybe slow it down a little bit, or maybe it's watchable at 10 times speed, I'm not sure. Yeah, but thanks for watching. I hope you maybe learned something about Sceptile and mostly about Leech Seed Stall. Tickler is better for Leech Seed Stall, but that's only because you don't need like a second Pokemon to set up Tangela. If you have a set of Pokemon, then the Sceptile becomes better in a lot of situations because you outspeed more. But on its own, Tangela is better. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.